What is going on, everybody? Paul here, coming at you with that crypto coffee update. You know what it is, all your news, events, conferences, and of course some banter, all surrounding not only crypto but the wider markets in general. And we're going to do it in the most objective fashion possible, giving you the sources and explanations as to what I see and why I see it, and not act like these people on the bottom right hand side of Crypto Panic saying stuff like, you must have just not been in the space long enough, buddy, because, you know, I've been in here longer than you, meaning I've clearly been paying more critical attention. It doesn't work like that, not going to do that, sharing the sources with you, and of course that allows you to do your own legwork. Comments are appreciated, after all, that's how we share information, and sharing is caring, so let's share a simultaneous sip. Yeah, I'm caffeinated. It's like caffeinated with coffee explicitly. Haha. Alright, so let's go ahead and jump into the first article of the day, what we see here. And I'm just going to take this at face value, basically, delve into it. And like I said, article below in the description if you want the full juicy story. Ripple CEO Brad Garlickhouse says, we're not partnering with Swift, we're taking them over. I know it's Garlinghouse, it's a meme, Garlickhouse, but yeah, of course it makes sense they're not partnering with them. After all, Swift, what do? They are the messaging system for many central and global banks around the world, allowing their proprietary systems to communicate without having to build specialized software in each individual case. Sometimes that still exists. After all, the United States and Canada talk quite a lot, and assumingly they have their own unique bilateral communication network for their banking systems. However, Swift is kind of the catch-all. Let's say if the United States wanted to talk to, say, Angola. Ripple, they do a lot more. Of course, they deal with liquidity, they deal with payment and transaction finality, and they, of course, allow for messaging in a much more faster, distributed ledger fashion. So it makes sense that Ripple wants to usurp Swift's throne rather than partner with them, and it wouldn't make much business sense for Swift to take on a clearly technologically superior partner in that regard. Now, whether you feel nothing but animosity for Ripple, whether you think it's the best thing since sliced bread and it's derpy younger brother XLM, they're always duking it out, whatever. Okay, Ripple has a huge presence in the global stage. They have huge presence in global banking, and it doesn't seem to be going away anytime soon. As said, this will be below in the description if you want some more information on that. Next up, we got Charles Hoskinson. He is the creator of Cardano, but not the head of the Cardano Foundation. They're actually going to get a new head. Charles was butting heads with this guy, Michael Parsons, for a long while now, a couple months. Ethereum World News, actually, in mid-October, they came out and they were saying, Hoskinson was saying that Parsons, I keep wanting to call him Peterson. Anyway, the head of the Cardano Foundation basically has a lack of strategic vision, failure to disclose the foundation's war chest, how it could be spent, where the tokens are even located, that's kind of sketchy, lack of transparency regarding the foundation's operations, false claims, and an absence of viable internal governance structure. This part was particularly interesting. I read the 16-page letter, and it talked about how this guy, Michael Parsons, he hired on, I think it was his son, or a close associate, one of his relatives, and a close associate, to serve in the Cardano Foundation. So that called into some, I'll call into question, very legitimately, whether or not this is a unbiased placement of these individuals, or whether it's a kind of quid pro quo. So nonetheless, that individual is gone. The people he installed are still there, but Charles seems to think it's a-okay and it's bullish for Cardano. How it will affect the price, I don't know, don't really care. Really interested in the actual functionality of these projects, who's involved, and what they are building. Because really, if you build something like a sandcastle, it's not going to be worth $1,000. But if you build something like a workable product, now we're talking. So interesting. Good to see that. A community was able to do a deep dive, launch an independent report, and with the help of the creator, actually drive out an element of the community that seemed to be semi-toxic, at least from service level. Now, I'm sure individuals within the community have much more nuanced opinions, but as said, this will be in the description so you can get your own take, informed take. That's the important part, an informed take on the situation, if you so desire. Next up, we have the IMF, which is a pretty big corporation, if you know about it, called the International Monetary Fund. It is basically the central bank of central banks. Actually, it's the International Bank of Settlements, technically. It gets complicated, but yeah, they do a lot of loans for various nations all around the world. Suffice to say, they're a big deal. And they're continuing to devote attention to blockchain, cryptocurrency, and fintech in general. Now, this is from November 13th, and this isn't the big news. It was the big news, but guess what? It's not the big news. Not no more. Because Christine Lagarde, the chief of the IMF, came out and said, central banks should consider issuing digital currency. Now, the BBC article said that they're still looking at it, but the quote itself, and I went and checked it out, it does say that is what she said, that they should consider issuing it. Now, this bumps heads pretty intensely with what's going on over on the Marshall Islands. Marshall Islands are trying to launch their own sovereign cryptocurrency, replace their currency that is semi-attached to the US dollar. Now that US is kind of diminishing their presence after many, many long years, that's where they set off those nuclear bombs. So they were getting a lot of US dollars for the ecological damage that occurred. Now that's starting to wane, so they're looking for unique, innovative approaches. That's led to a lot of, I guess, pushback from various nations, and the IMF itself saying that, look, this technology, it's great, but it's still relatively untested. You might not want to do that. You'll open up a lot of vectors of exploitability potentially. But it looks that the chair of the IMF, Christine Lagarde, is pushing the opposite direction, which is pretty neat. So that's neither here nor there. As usual, this will be in the description, of course, but we're just keeping an eye on these kind of things to see how the overall sentiment towards this technology is shifting. Next up, Bitfinex has new fees, $30,000 fee to withdraw $1 million or more. Anything below that, anything below a $1 million withdrawal will stay the same in terms of fee structure. This lady looks about as confused as I am, just seems a little off, seems a little strange. I'm not insinuating anything, could be just a way to ensure that the finality of the transaction goes through just fine. After all, they have had some banking issues in the past. Just wanted to report on that, just something interesting to keep an eye on. Consensus and Amazon are working together. They're going to be launching an Ethereum marketplace for enterprise blockchain, which is really interesting. After all, if you wanted to make your own website, let's say, for instance, way back in the early 90s, it was hell. You had to do so much stuff that I don't even understand and don't care to understand because I will never have to do it. And frankly, that's kind of where we stand right now with blockchain technology. If an enterprise wants to deploy a blockchain for their business, they have to go through all these hoops, make sure that their systems are designed correctly, and at the end of the day, they're developing their own proprietary, in a way, blockchain system, which means that interoperability is a bit of an issue. So to see Consensus and Amazon working together to create a set of industry standards for the Ethereum system, it's pretty beneficial in my opinion. Next up, we got Initiative Q. We talked about this before, but Ivan on Tech made a video on it, covered it very well, very objective. Is it a pyramid scheme? No. Is it an IQ test? Yeah, pretty much. If you put in a fake email, totally fine, whatever, they may not find you. If your buddy puts in a real email and his real name, well, now there is a data point by which there can be maybe an extrapolation to your real-world identity. So as Ivan says, here's his video over here, oh, and he didn't say it was an IQ test. That's a Paul original, because it basically is. I mean, let's look at it like this, right? They are building, for no cost, essentially, a name recognition database, just a database of individuals and emails from all around the world of individuals who are interested in getting rich quick. As Ivan goes into, this number is completely false. It's extrapolated from nothing at all. There's no way to know what the value of something would be without a presence and voluntary free trading on an open marketplace, which isn't happening for Initiative Q. So that's just basically, look, pretty big number, give information, please. So I want to keep you guys warned and abreast to things happening in the space that may or may not be nefarious, but are definitely a high risk, low reward from the looks of things. Next up, moving on to the wider markets, shorts crushed as nat gas explodes higher after tripping stops. So natural gas has exploded in terms of price. This is from the polar vortex that the United States Northeast is expecting. Oh, excuse me, I got a little allergy thing going on. So nat gas is exploding highest since February 2014, when there was another explosion upward, and you can see it touched $4.69, about 70 cents. So really just going even higher, almost $5. And this is just in anticipation. Why is this relevant? Why is Paul talking about natural gas? That's weird. Normally he talks about crypto, because as of October 2018, the US is now energy independent. So this is kind of a live test to see about the flexibility of the overall energy networks in the United States. I think it's very relevant to watch. After all, in February 2014, it only took 11 days for the prices to depress back even further than they ever were before. I mean, it dropped almost to all-time lows. This is because it took 11 days to get these new natural gas networks online. In the Permian Basin, there's all kind of natural gas burn-off, so much so it's visible from space. So the U.S. energy independence is a huge, huge deal, more so than I think almost anybody's looking at, except for Peter Zeihan. Zeihan, shout out to that guy, fantastic geopolitical analyst, definitely worth checking out some of his material. But yeah, I'm keeping an eye on that for that specific reason. Very interesting stuff going on there. But with that said, that's not very crypto. Let's go ahead and shift into what's happening in crypto for November 14th. Wednesday? Is it Wednesday? It's Wednesday. We have Blockchain for Finance Conference kicking off in Boston, Blockchain and Healthcare East in DC, the Benzinga Fintech Summit happening in San Francisco. Oof, that's some dry humor. Decentralized is kicking off in Athens, and Money 2020 is happening in China. Next up, for Thursday, November 15th, we have the Dallas Family Office and High Net Worth Blockchain Conference, of which there have been many recently, and this one's, of course, happening in Dallas, Texas. That's all we have for Thursday, November 15th, and for this Crypto Coffee update. Like I said throughout most of the episode, guys, links below in the description. After all, you got to start doing your own research if you're interested in this kind of stuff. It is very valuable to do, and my job here is just to arm you with relevant information so you can go forth, and do your own work in a much more enlightened way. And, of course, comments are very much appreciated. I love hearing your perspectives. I love conversing with you guys, and it's how we build the best space we possibly can. With that said, this is Paul signing off. Thanks so much for watching. Very much appreciated. Love you guys. We are Cryptide, and remember, the tide is rising, as is the scope of the project. Got some things in the pipe for you guys.